Okay, so this is the last of the God and Money series, and this will be a different series, a different lesson because it's a lot of just practical advice, and so it's as best I could do it is based on the Bible, but there's a lot of stuff the Bible doesn't talk about 401ks, and so like you gotta like break it down to practical things today, and so I'm gonna talk to you like this is what I say to my children. Okay, so I'm talking to you like you're one of my family. Okay, and so I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not trying to give you financial advice. I don't want to sell you anything. I have no particular products I want you to get. I just want to talk to you like if you're my family. This is what I would say about money. Okay, now I've got but there's 30 points to cover. Okay, and so I've got them all right here. Now, I typically don't like to give out notes as I'm talking because people read the notes versus listening, you know. But I like to take notes when someone's talking. So if you want a copy of this now, I've got enough to pass around to people if you want a copy of it, or you can just listen and wait. So, you know, Shannon wants a copy. Hey, anybody else want a copy? Yeah.
Does anybody need a pen?
Yes, you could.
Yeah, let's just pass it around.
Yeah. Okay. And there's like enough, like one per couple, I think, or something. But all right. Is that enough? There's more. Okay. There should be a few more.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Enough, like one per couple, and then yeah. All right. So there's 30 points to cover, and I got some stories to tell, and so I'm not, you know, I'll do my best to get it all done in this time frame. All right, so the first thing is, when it comes to God and money, you really got to get this idea in your head, this conviction in your heart. I am going to trust in the Lord no matter what, with everything, including my money, my finances, and that kind of stuff. That's trust in the Lord always. That's really the starting point that you really got to get down. And I hope in this series you've gotten the point. It's not your money, it's God's money. Everything you've got is from God. Every opportunity you've ever received is from God. Your talent, resources, gifts, abilities, what you're going to make in the future, you're going to do that because God allowed you to do it. And God allows sometimes people who are completely like sinful people to make tons and tons of money. Okay? And so it's not a matter of if you have more money, you're more blessed, and if you're poor, you're not blessed. That's not the way it works in God's kingdom. He's got a plan for everybody, a role for everybody, a job for everybody, for your whole life. And he's going to give you the resources and the time and the talent to do the job he wants you to do. You know, so I've heard people say, well, I'm so blessed I have this new car. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. Why does God give you stuff? It's to enable you to do the job he wants you to do. And sometimes God will test you with money and make you do without. Make you be like Marla and I. We were, you know, Marla grew up in the projects, very poor. And I was very poor for a long time. And I think there are some lessons you can learn. There's a lot of things you learn in those kind of situations. But everybody here from their heart needs to say, okay, God, this is your word, all right? And I am going to follow it. I'm going to study it, I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to follow it. To the best of my ability, I'm going to do it. With everything, including money. That commitment is core. Okay? Now, on like point number 5, the tithe. Now, I previously, when we were doing this series, I gave my case for the tithe, okay? And there's a lot of Christians who are smart, sincere, good people I know and respect, and they don't believe the tithe is still mandatory, okay? They've searched it and their conscience is clear. They don't believe it. And I tried to make my best case for why I am on the other camp. I firmly believe the tithe is still mandatory.
So when they don't believe it's mandatory, do they still give what they were just called? They just don't give 10%? Right. Or they don't believe.
Yep, exactly. Yep. Be a generous giver. Give whatever you feel that the Lord's leading you to give. But I won't belabor the point. But there was tithing before the law was given. The tithing was talked about in the law. The last chapter of the Old Testament is very, very firm about tithing and says, will you rob God by not paying the tithe? And then in the New Testament, there's never a statement that the tithe is repealed or revoked. And the only time Jesus talks about the tithe is in Matthew 23:23. And he says, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! You pay 1/10 of mint, dill, and cumin, and yet you've neglected the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. These things should have been done without neglecting the others. So my simple point is this. He's saying the most important matters of the law are justice, mercy, and faithfulness. Did he repeal justice, mercy, and faithfulness? No. See, he said those are matters of the law. Okay? And he's saying, okay, you should have tithed, you scribes and Pharisees, okay? You should have done that without neglecting the more important matters of the law, justice, mercy, and faithfulness. And so, and my final point would be, when Scripture is close on an issue, and it's debatable, you get people on both sides, and it's kind of debatable. I think it's much wiser and better to err on the side of obeying. If it's a close call. In my mind, the evidence is about 80-20. Okay, in my mind. Other people are like, nope, it's 80-20 the other way. And if you don't have that conviction, I still love you, I still respect you, okay? But I really believe that we're called to do it, and as a general principle, God honors those and blesses those who do tithe, okay? Now, on top of tithing, there's offerings, and we're told again and again, be generous givers, help people. Like when you get an opportunity to help somebody in need, help them. Okay, like when you see a friend of yours who's struggling, go quietly to them, so no one really knows what you're doing, and help them. Be generous. When you feel a prompting of the Lord to help people, listen to the Lord and do it. I'll just say that when Marla and I started tithing, it was a scary, scary deal, and I could not believe we were actually doing it. But I feel like we were called to do it, and the Lord blessed. And all these years, I can just feel the Lord's hand of blessing on me and my family, and how He honored that. And we went from being extremely tight financially to now I'm retired, okay? And so I don't have to worry about that anymore. And that's all a direct blessing from God. All right, debt. Okay, and what's my quote about debt? Debt is the devil. Okay. debt is to be avoided whenever possible, especially high interest rate credit cards. Credit cards, like Ma and I, we got in trouble when we were younger with credit cards, and so actually in this book right here, this is our old financial records book. I have the original list where I sat down and made a list of all of our credit cards and debts we had. Took a whole page. It did. And then I was like, okay, what's the smallest one with the highest interest rate? So here's one that was like $700, and the interest rate is 21%. Okay, let's pay that one off first. Okay, and so and I would go. I'd take that payment and then go to the next credit card. Okay, we go $1,200, interest rate 21%. So let's pay it off. Then I would take. Then I got paid off. We'd say, okay, now this is the next one we can knock down. And so we started just working down all of our debts until we finally got those credit cards paid off. And now we use credit cards for almost all purchases, but we pay it off every month. And it's all within a budget, you know. If you've got debt like that, I would encourage you to start prepaying it. You know, like the worst thing in the world is to make your minimum payments. Have y'all ever seen how much money you pay back if you make the minimum payments? It's unbelievable. You borrow $2,000, you wind up paying back $7,000. Something like that. I mean, it's just ridiculous. If you make the minimum payment all the way down the line, it's unbelievable. Okay, now, number 8, you got to be unified with your spouse and have a joint plan. Okay, and so, I told you a bit of the story before that Marla and I was about 30 years old, maybe 31, and my best friend Scott Ferguson came out here, and he went and he bought this book right here, and said, "No, Jeff," he goes, "You don't know much about money, do you?" I'm like, "Nope, sure don't." He goes, "Yep. That's what I thought." So I bought this for you. It doesn't have all the answers, but it'll get you started. And I know you. When you get going, you're like a dog on a bone. You'll really start figuring things out once you get started. He goes, like, your dad never talked to you about it? And he goes, well, this guy, Ron, this is Ron Blue. He's like Dave Ramsey kind of guy, you know. He'll get you started. Okay, so, and then I'm gonna recommend that y'all find a book that's gonna give you the basics of financial stuff. You need to understand the basics of finances and how things work. Something like this. This is an older book, but so we've been married now 38 years, right? So on our 10-year anniversary, we took this book with us to Rocky Mountain National Park, and we're going to go backpacking for our 10-year anniversary. Okay, and so in this book, it recommends that you do a couples weekend retreat to get on the same page. And so it has a thing where, okay, here's your schedule of things you're supposed to do. You're supposed to like Friday evening, like it tells you, and Saturday morning, and then lunch break, and Saturday afternoon. So what we did is that we did it on the way up there, and then when we got to the campsite, we did it by the campfire, and then we did it the next day. We hiked up to the lake, and we did it by the lake, sitting there, and we did it. And we did it all the way through Sunday morning. And what this does, it walks you through getting on the same page as a couple. Now, I've seen couples that have like separate money and separate stuff, and only usually the guy is the only one who knows the finances, and the wife didn't know a thing. Okay, I don't think that's wise at all, guys. I would not recommend that. I think you got to be on the same page, and you got to know what's going on. So when you do that, like for example, it's really important for you as a couple to have the same goals, vision for your future. Where it is like for me, I wanted to live in sort of a middle class neighborhood, drive like good, solid, like Toyota type kind of cars that weren't really expensive, and I wanted my kids to go to a public school if possible, and I wanted to live in my view, kind of a simple life. I didn't want the house in the Broadmoor. I didn't want the house in Skyway or whatever. That was just me. And so Marla and I had to sit there and say, okay, what are your dreams, honey? What do you want to do? Like when we grow up, where we're going to live, what kind of cars, what's important to us, what's not important to us. And for me, retiring at 58 was a really big deal. I really wanted to retire at 58, and that means sacrificing in those years.
How'd you pick that age? That's like kind of random.
It is a pretty random.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I was out riding with my mentor in Memphis. We're riding bikes one night, and he goes, "Okay, Jeff." He goes, "What do you want to do when you grow up?" And so I was right. I said, I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. He goes, well, think about it. Let's talk about it. Like, how do you want your career to be? What kind of family do you want? What kind of thing? What do you want your family to be like? What do you want to do? Do you want to be a lawyer your whole life? Do you want to be like the president of the state bar, or what do you want to do? You want to be on the Supreme Court of Tennessee, or whatever? And I was like, I said, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a judge. That doesn't interest me. I want to be an advocate where I can help people, and I want to do it well. But I want to work for a good long time. But then I want to have a second life after that, where I'm still young enough to do something and live another career, if you will, live a life after working as a lawyer. And I want to be young enough to where I can still do stuff, but I don't want to be one of these lawyers who dies with his suit on at his desk when he's 87 years old, which is the way most lawyers die. So it just kind of came from that bike ride. It just seemed like to me to be a good age to break it off and then to do something different.
Yeah.
When I was older. And Marla, okay, Marla, this is the deal. I really want to work towards this. And so she's like, okay. And so we decided that we wanted to live in a middle level house, and when we get up to that level, stop. And we didn't want to buy a vacation home in Breckenridge or whatever. Other friends of mine, they love that. They do that, and I'm like, hey, that's good. You want to live in King's Deer or something? That's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But for us, I want to come to have us be very unified. What this was going to be like, and then I wanted us to be completely on the same page all the way through everything. And then, I was Marla is more of I want to have fun today. I'm worried about today, right now, or maybe the party on Friday night. But she doesn't really think past that. She doesn't. I mean, she's like, wants the fun right now, what's going on right here. Whereas me, I am so built towards long-term thinking. So I was like, I want to have 3 kids. I want to actually I wanted 4, but we had a miscarriage, and so we settled for 3. And I said, I want to spend our time in the outdoors, going camping. I want to have a middle class home. I want to spend a lot of time as a family. I want to have our den have no TV in it, where our den is a place of fellowship and talking. We don't have a den. I don't want a den in our TV in our den.
Also, clarifying point, this was a middle class home. Now it is
No,
a
it's,
remodel.
no, it's still.
It
And
is.
still, when was the last time you were in a middle class home that looked like this?
It was at one point. Now not as, it's one step above.
Yeah, but
I
like
wouldn't call it middle
when,
class
like,
at this
we wanted to be really involved with our kids, really involved, being there and doing stuff with them all the time, do all the sporting stuff, every recital, everything. We wanted to be there, and we wanted to make sure that they were getting a spiritual development as kids. And so, like, when our kids were growing up, I'm like, you kind of, as a parent, you think, well, they'll join a youth group and they'll check that box. Well, it wasn't really working, and it wasn't happening. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And it seemed like to me their friends were kind of all in the same boat. I said, all right, why don't we just start our own little youth group right here in our house? Let's call it the Way, like the original church. Let's call it the Way. And so we did that for 3 years. We had kids coming over, 50 to 100 kids every week. And, you know, so after we did that for 3 years, our house was destroyed.
Our house was
Giant holes
giant.
in the wall.
Giant.
Oh yeah, we had like about a dozen holes in the wall.
A lot of quesadillas.
Quesadilla.
The floors were ruined.
Oh.
Because the floors were ruined.
Yeah.
And so ruined. And so we had to like have all the
sure
holes patched and
Oh,
new.
God.
Be sitting on that.
Oh.
It was sticky. It was bad. It was bad.
The whole house was sticky.
Yeah. So we had to get new flooring and new furniture because it was destroyed. But it was great though. The way was great. I mean, it was a fun thing. And so, but do you see how all that was driven by a vision? So like you, like Cole and Bree, you guys just got married. It's so exciting. Beautiful picture, by the way. That's a killer. Such a killer. But like y'all, it's gonna be so important that in the coming days, weeks, and months, and like years, that you come together and say, okay, honey, what's our vision for our life? Where's God leading us? What are we to do? What's gonna be our goal line? And then set what's important to us. What kind of family do we want to have? And what do we want to do? How are we going to foster being a warm, loving family? How are we going to like try to mold and shape our kids into being people that love God and they're nice to other people? And so you got to think about the vision you want, and then you start thinking about now how do we take steps to get there, work towards that. So now, on the budget, it's really important that you sit there, and if you don't budget and you just spend, you're just going to spend. So you really got to think about sitting down, doing your budget, and check it periodically, make adjustments if necessary. And so that is just like a basic thing, and you got to be on the same page. I remember like when Marla and I were first doing our budget, for the first few years, she'd run like on the 15th of the month, she'd run a month review of the last month. So we'd say, okay, this is the report for November. We were $275 over because of this.
Gifts non-Christmas.
Gosh.
There is a line item that's gifts non-Christmas, so just
Wow.
gifts around the year, and she was always way over. He's like, Marla, gifts non-Christmas.
Every month we do
Every
a
month she
budget.
was over.
Just like the gifts non-Christmas would just be like red every month, red, and then the year in review, red. You know?
Really red. Christmas red.
But it was born out of her generosity, but it was really hurting the budget bad.
Sounds like we need
It's
to
funny you
budget.
remembered that.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so all right, so back to the storm shelter. Ferguson gave me this, and so we took this on the trip, and we came back, and it has like work stuff, and it's like long-term goals, short-term goals, things you want to do, and your budget, all this kind of stuff. So then we came back, and so it says you need to come up with a written financial plan. Okay, so what we did, so I came back, and
This looks like you're a
it starts off modestly.
That was it. It was one
That was
page.
it. That was the plan. Okay, And so I took this book, okay, and like I had like notes in it about like save, invest, spending can wait. Time is your ally. When you're young, time is your friend. Okay, expect cycles, diversify your assets. Then I had like for me the key verse was don't be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God. Okay, and then I had like stuff tabbed. I got my like notes here, and then in the back, I kind of broke down like the key concepts, in the back. But as far as our plan going forward, it started off real simple, like it was this, okay? And so the idea was that we were going to create an emergency fund that was just cash sitting aside for emergencies, ER accounts. Now, I do business.
We know about
I do business consulting with these two ladies and with Alex,
All about you.
and I have hammered ER into them. ER, yeah.
But we had a good month. He's like, just put it in the ER. We're like, damn.
Fun sponge. So the basic thing about ER is that I'll just talk about individuals. So you want your monthly expenses, that's your monthly nut. You want that, you want 1 month's expenses in your basic beginner's starter set ER. Is 1 month set aside. And it's not in a checking account, it's just in a separate account named emergency reserve. And then as soon as you can, you grow it to 3 months. And then you grow it to 6 months. Then you grow it to a year. Okay, so, and then when your nut increases, like you get a car payment or you get a house payment, and your nut increases, it's like your nut expanded, so instead of having a year's worth, you've now got 6 months worth. Okay, so you try to go back. So I would say, at a minimum, try to have 6 months worth in there, and go to a year if you can at all. Okay, then you create another account called the temporary savings. Okay, so in there, what you want to do is like, okay, honey, we want to go on a trip to Hawaii in 2 years. Okay, it's gonna be expensive. Okay, so you start putting aside money in that temp savings account for that trip, and you say, okay, we're gonna buy a car, or we're gonna pay cash for it, or we're gonna pay down what we can and finance the rest. Now, I strongly advocate paying cash, saving up and paying cash, but there's been multiple times when I couldn't do that. So I would put down like 10,000 and finance the rest, okay? So, but at 10,000, you had to save up that 10,000. So that's something else for temporary savings. So you put that money in that account goes to just for planned expenses that are coming down the pike. Then you have your operating account, okay, which is your cash checking account, okay. Now, you don't take money out of the ER unless it's a true emergency, and you have to have this internal debate, which is kind of like this. Okay, Jeff, I need to borrow $10,000 because I did not anticipate all these, like the roof breaking and had to get a new roof and got to pay cash for the roof. And to which Jeff responds, no way, not going to do it. You're not getting 10,000. And Jeff goes back, no, I need 10,000 for the roof. It's an unforeseen expense. And, what can you get by with? Okay, I'll give you 5. You can take 5 out of checking, but I'm not giving you 10. Come on, give me. All right, I'll give you 6,000. So that's the kind of internal debate it takes for you to borrow money from yourself from ER. And when you take it from yourself, you then pay yourself, you pay ER back as the first chance you get. But ER is never to be used for a splurge or like a trip somewhere. It's for a true emergency.
Question real quick, like,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on like, interest rates like used to be really low with cars at one point. You could get an interest rate for like, 1% for, 60 months, something like that.
Right.
And so you could pay that all in cash, or at that low interest rate, you could literally put the money that you would have paid for a car in the stock market, which is year over year,
Yep.
yielded anywhere from 5 to 7%, and that's conservatively.
Yep.
And so then you're using that cash for somewhere else. I would use the term shrewd.
Yep.
Obviously, it's debt, but it's so low. How would you look at that situation? Obviously, right
Yeah.
now, car payments are 9 to 10%, so that's a different story.
Yeah, yeah. So
there
it's the same thing on, okay, that's a good point. And I've had many debates with my friends about this. And my thing was, okay, so on car payments, I paid cash for some cars, but mostly it was always pay down and then finance. And then you'd prepay it. You get like a 3-year loan and pay it like a year and a half or a year or whatever. It is true that you can, if you can borrow money at like 2% and then invest it and make 8%, then you are coming out net ahead. The math is there, okay? And I've had many of my friends argue that, but there's an obvious risk associated with that. What if your investment goes south versus north? Okay, and so what if you put money in the stock market like now, and then there is a 30% correction next month? You not only don't make money, you're down 30%. Okay, and because the stock market is a lot of cycles. It goes up, all of a sudden, bam, goes up, it goes, bam. Overall, it does go up, and so I didn't like the risk associated with that, and everybody, the worst wood knock on, everybody I know that said, well, I'm going to, invest the money and blah, 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 blah. It never worked out. I don't know of a case where it actually worked. I'm sure it has, but none of my friends who actually talked about that and said that it actually worked. It just didn't work. And so I like, you get a guaranteed good return on your money when you pay the debt off. Okay, or you avoid debt. Now, for like most humans, you just can't go down and put like $40,000, $50,000 down on a car. This just ain't no way, man. So you say, okay, what's the most we can put down? Okay, let's put down 10. Okay, and let's finance 35. Okay, you got your car payment over 5 years. I would strongly encourage you to prepay that payment. Put something on top of it every month, because the way it works, when you pay money towards principal on top, it saves you a lot of money in the back end. It's more than a dollar for dollar benefit. If you pay $1 now, you get like $1.50 benefit on the back end. Okay, so prepaying debt is a huge deal. So we took like this little sheet of paper right here, and I went to Quicken, and so Quicken's got a financial planner. Okay, and so and like
Which now it'd be QuickBooks.
QuickBooks, but you could there's these financial planners are on the internet. Yeah. Yeah, on the World Wide Web. So like this was our financial plan. So I had written it out and the elements of it, where we were going to have an ER fund, a temporary savings account, a checking account, and then we were going to have a retirement account for me. And then when Mara started working for my firm, we had one for her too. There's a 401k. Now, if you're familiar with that, but basically, so your money that you earn goes into a 401k retirement account, tax-free. So you don't pay taxes on the money and then put it in. It goes in tax-free. And then when the money grows, the growth is tax-free until you pull it out. Okay, And so you get all that growth over time. And like for y'all, time is your ally, man. Start going and start getting it going. Like you can go, like we went to Charles Schwab and just said, I need to open up an account. And they'll get you started. It's very simple, very low cost type thing. And so what we did is I sat down with this book, my notes and everything, and I sat down and I was like, okay, how old are you? How much are you making? How much is your mortgage? What are your car payments? Goes through all your debts, your assets, liabilities, loans. And then you're typing in the information, and then the amount of return you're going to make, and then how long you're going to work when you want to retire, how much you're going to spend in retirement, the impact of Social Security. It's all in those plans, okay? And then, so we sat down, and this whole thing is it. And so it provided that I could retire at 58.
Isn't that wild?
Okay? No, but that's what we put in.
Yeah.
We're going to work towards that.
So you explained how to do
Yeah, and it said, okay, you need this much money. Okay, and then what we did is, let me see if I can explain this. So when you do, well, okay, your operating money, you got your checking account, your temporary savings, you still save up for stuff in your ER account, right? Now for retirement savings, you need two different kinds of accounts. Okay, first is your 401k, and that's your most important. And you want to put basically the max you can in there every year. And then here is what I call the gap account. This money here is put into an account that's, because you've maxed out the tax deferred stuff. This account is money you put in after taxes, and the growth is also taxed. Okay, but you need money in addition to that retirement account for the years before 70. Okay, so that's the gap between retirement and the 70. 70 is when you want to use your 401k. You want to have that money. Okay, so that's the gap account. Now, for like you, Matt, you're on para, which is a different animal. Okay.
Have you looked into Roth IRAs at all?
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Because obviously you can put in there.
Yep. So
The
what we're
growth is taxed, but the actual contribution's already been taxed.
yeah. So what happens is what we're going to do. It's a complicated thing, but I don't want to lose you. But so right now, Maura and I, we've got the gap account with money in it to pay for everything from 58 to 70. Okay, and then we've got 401k money for my years of earning, and then when Maura's not working for me, we put all her money in 401k, and that money we'll start drawing it when we're 70, and it'll take us out into if we die like when we're like 93, we'll still have enough money to give kids plenty, and we'll have enough of a buffer to handle it. But the problem is when you start drawing money out when you're 70, and you got to pull out a minimum percentage of that every year, and you get taxed, okay? And then all the growth from now to then, you're gonna be paying a lot of money on that growth eventually. So what we've done is that I met with a financial advisor, we're having a model created of what we can do between now and 70 to transfer almost all of it over to a Roth IRA when I'm in a lower tax bracket in these next 10 years. And so what happens to do into a Roth is that you pay taxes when it comes out, and I'm not working as a lawyer, I'm not making income. So when I pull it out, I'm paying taxes at a reduced rate, putting it into the Roth. But then when you put it into a Roth, is all the money from that point forward, all the growth, no tax.
Even when you pull it out, as long as you pull it out after 65.
Yep, exactly, down the road. And so, and then if down the road when we pass away, the money in the Roth and all that growth is not taxable to your children. All the money in your 401k, all that growth is taxable to your children.
Is it Roth IRA like when you leave it to like waiver, well, mostly Sawyer? Does that will that be taxed from an inheritance standpoint? Because there is an inheritance.
No,
tax.
it won't be, well, if your overall estate is above a certain amount, but the estate tax amount is so high, I don't have to worry about that. I mean,
Got it.
but like like I say, if your parent passes away, and your parent has got money in a 401k, and they pass away, then you as a child are going to say, okay, I get this inheritance from my dad. Let's say I get $500,000 from dad, okay? It's in a 401k. Well, let's say the $500,000, let's say half of that was growth, okay? Well, you got to pay taxes on $250, and there's a certain time frame in which you got to pay those taxes.
Like pretty quickly.
Yeah, it's pretty quickly. So, but and that goes to another thing. Like, I'll just skip ahead. So, like, what you want to do is that you want to take the general principles I'm giving you, the budget, the plan. I really implore you to do the ER account, temporary savings account, checking account, and then retirement account like a 401k. Okay, get that going. And then you start running this kind of software, and then you go meet with a financial advisor like the guy at Charles Schwab. And I said, look, here's my plan. I'm 33 years old. Does this plan hold water? You know? And they went through it. He goes, yeah, yeah, this is perfect. And so Marla and I stayed on this plan from 33 till we're still on it. The plan never, God gave us more than we anticipated. But it's the same plan. Okay. All right. So now, in your plan, you got to do things like plan out your cars, plan out. Okay, I am an advocate of saving money for your children's college fund. Okay, I'm an advocate for that. I don't think college should be used for degrees that don't give hard skills or set you up for a particular good job. I think you gotta be really careful about your degree in college to make it meaningful. But if your child says, look, I don't want to go to college. I think college is it's a propaganda machine, and I don't want to do that, and I don't want a degree in English or history or whatever, and I don't know what I want to do. And you're okay. But you can still use that for you can go to become a welder, an electrician. You can pay for it for those certificates and stuff. But it's skill acquisition. Because the idea in life is that you get paid for more for the harder it is to do that particular job. Okay, if you want to go dig ditches for a construction company, you'll be the lowest man on the totem pole. It takes no particular skill. It's a strong back, and you will get the lowest wage of anybody on the job site. Okay. Now, if you want to be able to open someone's skull up and do brain surgery, that is a very particular skill. Okay, it takes a lot of work to get there, and very few people on the planet can do it. And very few people are willing to go through what you got to do to be a brain surgeon. Now, so brain surgeons get paid a fortune, and rightfully so, because that skill is so hard. So think about when your children are coming up, think about how you can give them a leg up in funding their skill acquisition and not coming out into the world laden with debt. You want your children, if at all possible, to get their skill acquisition and be debt-free. Okay, so that means you have to set up a 529 account. So like when you have a child, the child's born, in the next couple of months, you go down and you open up a 529 account, and you start putting something into it every month. It could be $25. Put something into it.
And ask your parents for that as a Christmas gift.
Yes.
Yeah,
Say, hey.
We're like, can you just give us money for her college?
yeah.
That's what we do
I
for
know
Christmas.
some people that their grandparents put in
Yeah.
at birth they had a deal, they put in like I don't know, $10,000-$15,000 per child, like within a few months of birth. Okay, and that's just kind of what they did. My goodness, that grows
That
for
compounds
18, 19 years, and it grows like that. It was amazing what it paid for, and then other people can add to it. So, all right, so
Wade's like, feel free to do that.
Yeah, I'm
Angie.
like, that sounds cool.
They're retired now. They don't have that in their budget. That's not their financial plan.
Birthday too, is that we send the link out to families.
You can't do that.
Email link
yeah,
to family and be like, whatever, you can get $5, you know?
yeah, that's a good idea. Oh, Maddie was saying that you can send out a link to like if y'all want to give towards like weeks is still here's a link that you can put in like $25.
It's way better than a present.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is though.
Yeah.
That would actually move the needle.
So it's a link to the account. Like
Yeah.
you can just.
And then other people could.
What's the
It's like a GoFundMe to their
Ours is Fidelity, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but living in Boston, the first thing they do when your baby's born, they give you $50 to go.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a blue state. So. Everyone gets a handout in Boston.
Yeah. All right, so you had this common vision, okay, and you're working towards this vision, and you're set up the accounts to give you a buffer for emergencies, for saving up for stuff, for cash operating stuff. You have a college fund for your children. You've got retirement accounts that are tax deferred and not tax deferred. Okay, that's kind of how you do it. And then you need to meet with like I go to Schwab, and Don Billings is my guy there, is a nice fella. And I meet with him every so often. I said, okay, here's what my question is. Like I went to him recently. Okay, I need to have a Roth model for how we transfer everything from 401ks to Roth in the next 10 years. So work out to me the most advantageous model with tax savings, giving my finances. He knows every number I got. And give me the model of how I do it. So he's preparing the model for me right now. Get that kind of thing from a good financial advisor.
That doesn't require you to move to Arizona or Florida.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So and then what we did is that we just started keeping all of our finances, our plans, our budgets, our and spending plans. Oh my goodness, let's talk about that. So that if Marla and I, we always kept a spending plan at all times of our most important things we needed to plan for. Okay, and so if we ever got my money, because I was a lawyer in my own firm, my income was variable. If you go up, it go down. Okay, and if we went up, all of a sudden, so like, okay, let me just give you an example. It's like one time I had a settlement, and the settlement came in, and we had $100,000 extra money that came in one pop, $100,000. Okay, I felt like I was drunk. I'm like, $100,000. Oh my! My
That's a full
brain,
salary.
my brain could not function. Or it's like, huh? What? And nothing. And all of a sudden I'm like,
The old movie goes.
yeah.
We were y'all's age,
Just-
too, so it's
Yeah,
like-
it was like, okay, so I learned very, very quickly, and we did not make efficient use of that money, okay? And so I learned very quickly, have a plan, have everything prioritized, so that if you get money or something happens or you're working towards something, you've always got a spending plan, and you always spend according to the plan. Don't be an impulse buyer, impulse spender, okay? And if you ever do get in situations where you've got money coming in that's unforeseen, and it happens. Sometimes in life it happens. You wait, trust me, you'll want the plan figured out before the money gets there. Because your IQ drops to about 50 if someone drops money on you.
First-hand experience.
First
Okay.
hand experience, I know it.
Yeah, okay. Now, when you do this, this financial plan about retirement, okay, when I say retirement, most people think, okay, what that means is you want to spend your days sitting on the beach, lounging in comfort and ease the rest of your days. That's what most people think of as retirement. That is not, the God never endorses that. God never says that. Okay? You need, instead of, in addition to having a financial plan for your life, you need to have a retirement life plan. What are we going to do in life? What is God calling us to? Like you may well be starting a group like this. When you're
Did you
60.
make that decision when you first sat down and had your retreat thing, or was that something that came to you later?
Well,
Like
we knew he wanted to do something serving the kingdom.
you just didn't have a concrete
Yeah,
idea
exactly.
what that.
And we said, like, what is it? And then as I got closer to retirement, I felt like God was saying to me, start another community for younger people. And I put it off for a couple of years, and finally it was like, God, I felt like God was like, hey, buddy, I'm tired of your excuses, get going. And then Marla called you up and said, hey, you guys want to come? I mean, that's really kind of what happened. But you want to have a retirement life plan to where you live a God-honoring, purposeful life in retirement. Okay.
And that's a big deal because if you don't, you'll be lost. You know.
Yeah, God built us for a purpose,
Yeah.
not to be self-indulgent. Okay. Point 12, I urge you to strive for a quiet, modest life. Live below your means, and don't worry about being showy. Like I was making, for a while as a lawyer, I was making really good money. God was blessing me. I was making good money. But we had to like catch up on like paying down some debt. We had to like kids' college funds, and we started a little bit late, had to catch up, and we had to pay for all this stuff, and my ER account was too low and all this stuff. And I'm like, so I had this old Toyota Corolla. I kept driving it. And then, the years rolled by, and I'm making good money. All my lawyer friends are like, what are you driving? You're driving a dumpster on wheels. What are you doing? And I'm like, I got things to take care of. There's other priorities. So finally, one day driving home from work, the cylinder blew. So you ride down, the cylinder blows, what happens, you ride down the interstate, and also you hear this, and you go in, and he goes, but you got a blown cylinder. I'm like, how much does it cost to fix that? He goes, about 3 times the value of that car. So I turned right around, drove down, and bought me a Subaru Outback, which I had it all planned out. I knew exactly. I knew when I bought, I knew what I was going to get. And I walked right in.
Because that was part of the spending plan.
Yeah, it's on the spending plan. So don't work.
Could you give examples of what's on your spending plan?
Yeah. Okay, so we had to get new windows in the house. Because our windows, it was like you could sit there and get frostbitten if you were sitting by the windows.
Yes, that's sorry to give you the whole picture.
So you got, so I knew I had windows coming that were cost me $30,000. I knew they were coming. Okay. And then I said, okay, I want to go to Switzerland with Marla, and I know that's going to be $8,000 for this trip to Switzerland. That's coming. We're going to have to get new winter tires on Marla's car.
So is that all in your temporary savings account?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So we would pull it out of operating,
Yeah.
put it into temp, and then we had a ledger in temp.
Right, that said
how
which-
much was allocated towards each one of those
Right.
goals.
Because Pike, the difference is some jobs are like feast or famine, right? And whereas a lot of jobs are more consistent.
Right.
So
We
you
were
have that
feast or
more
famine.
consistent, then you do it through temp. But
Yep.
if you have a job where like Eric's job, most of his money's in his bonus, and we don't know what it's gonna be until December. That's where a spending plan for those big chunks comes in.
And we were feast or famine.
Yep.
We didn't know from month to month
Right.
what we were gonna
We have a certain amount, but like, we got money that come in, but when you build towards something like that, so like tires, like you go.
So basically, anything outside of your,
get. Monthly.
yeah,
Yeah, fix it.
your
Regular
monthly
Yeah.
expenses.
Exactly, and you plan for that stuff. Like you know you're gonna need winter tires.
Yeah.
You might know your water heater is on its last legs. Okay, that's 1,500. Okay, so you got to do 1,500 towards that.
It's nice to get consistent.
We're gonna see if that can last till we sell it.
Okay, all right. So let's keep going here. So point 13, I would advise you to not buy luxury items.
Except for product.
Well, I have a difference with Wavy on this. So like for
Explain.
example, like when I
Caveat.
was a lawyer, every lawyer goes out and buys at a minimum a Rolex, but like you get like watches that cost between $5,000 and $25,000. Okay, and everybody I know as a lawyer does it. Okay, and I had like a Meritac watch that cost like $350. Okay, I wasn't gonna spend
Yeah, not,
like 10 or 15,000 on a Panerai watch. I just wasn't. And like I like Toyotas. I'm not gonna buy a Mercedes because I don't need a Mercedes, and I don't want that, and I don't want that premium deal, and I don't want to be showy. And I've already talked about avoid impulse purchases like the plague.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are, and I clearly don't have a Rolex, but in some cases, some luxury items actually appreciate more than cars do, for
Yep.
example.
Yeah.
What's your opinion?
Well, like for me, we bought an Airstream Bambi camper.
Mhm.
An Airstream costs twice as much as a regular type RV. Okay, but we like them a lot better. But Airstreams also hold their value
Yeah.
like crazy.
Oh yeah.
Like so like now I think our Bambi is worth more now than it was when we bought it.
Mhm.
This is appreciated.
Oh yeah.
And so I think that it's got to still be a smart purchase.
Yeah.
Okay, I just don't. I don't
You're
think
gonna invest
what
in
what is a Christian doing? I mean, philosophically, what is a Christian doing? Buying things just for show that are big and fancy. I don't know. But if it has value, if it has a purpose. I mean, there are exceptions.
Yeah.
We don't just buy it for show, just to buy it for show.
Yeah.
But the Airstream Bambi, we love it and it's great, and we're glad we paid the money, and it holds its value like crazy.
Yeah. There's good that comes out of that versus wearing a fancy watch.
And the whole family can use that. Or
Right.
use a fancy watch.
right.
I don't have a fancy watch.
I didn't know you wanted a fancy watch.
No, I don't want a fancy watch.
Well, Jeff, Hall, and Mallory.
Yep.
We had this top one business meeting though. I feel like you have a really good. It's also not that we have to live like we're poor and scrapping, and like your image and having respect in your image.
Right.
Yes.
I don't know. I feel like that was helpful to talk about.
Yeah. Like elaborate a little bit more on that. Like,
Well, I think I don't know why, but I grew up thinking like, not that you have to feel poor to be a good Christian, but like, kind of.
well, I don't. Okay,
I feel
I reject those who advocate a poverty gospel.
Yeah.
That you have to like drive a beater, be poor, and you have to be like John the Baptist, eating honey and locusts and stuff to be a good Christian. I look at the Bible and the story after story, example after example, does not say that. Okay, but we're told to be wise and that sort of thing, be good stewards, and so like for us, I wanted to pull our own weight, not be dependent on other people, be in a position of tithing and then helping other people who are in need of help, and to live a nice, solid, squared away life. And that's kind of like the week's way of doing things. And so, like we want to have a nice house, and we try to remodel it from time to time to make it nice. But we didn't want something super showy like, 2nd Avenue in the Broadmoor area.
Yeah.
So now, point 15, don't be house poor. Try to avoid this. Sometimes you need to stretch, sometimes you get into the house, and I've seen cases where it was necessary as a stretch. But as a general rule, everybody I know, and I know a lot of people who are house poor, and it causes so much stress, so much anxiety, and then you don't have money left over for all this other stuff. And you're always stressed. And then when something goes wrong, oh man, you're laying in bed just churning the acid over something going wrong. Being house poor, it just stinks. On mortgages, I implore you, try to get a 15-year mortgage if you can versus 30. If you can't do that, and you got a 30-year mortgage, if interest rates drop in the future, then to go from your 30 to your 15 with a lower interest rate. Okay, it saves you hundreds of thousands of dollars in the long run. Okay, and try to always prepay your mortgage a little bit every month. Like we had this house, we had a mortgage, and we put $400 on top every month.
And I think it was 11 years we paid it.
Yeah, paid off in 11 years.
Wow.
So we had a 15-year mortgage, put $400 on top, paid off in 11. Okay, and then, man, I'm telling you, the day you get that paid in full note back,
Your whole life looks different.
all of a
That's
sudden,
crazy.
all your other finances become a lot more achievable. Like you can really ramp up your savings and other things and stuff. And it's just, it's like get like a wave, like you're catching
Just gotta raise.
a big raise.
Big one.
Yeah. I mean, you still got your,
Yeah.
you still have like your property taxes and your insurance, that kind of stuff, but still it's it's like catching the power of a wave. Like, whoa, okay, now. All right. I'm a strong advocate of buying just dependable vehicles and drive them forever. All right, so there's two ways to do it. Okay, you can buy the Jeff Weeks way, not really the best way, but it's the way we decided. We were going to buy new, exactly what we wanted, but it had to be a really reliable car that was super duper reliable, like a 4Runner, and we drive them to the wheel shop off. Like we bought a Honda Accord, brand new, it had 3 miles on it when we bought it. And then when we turned it in, it had 276,000 miles on it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with the Corolla, I think 283 or somewhere in there. We drove it till the wheels fell off. Okay, and so got it paid off. And then we had like 7 years of ownership of the thing.
Yeah.
7, 8 years of ownership with it paid off. Now, my friend John Branson, who was one of my mentors, he was like, Jeff, you're an idiot. When you buy a new vehicle, drive off a lot, it depreciates a lot when you drive. Why don't you go out and buy a car that's got low miles, it's a year old, you're not taking the hit, and go forward. And for John, that worked, but he liked to buy American vehicles. American cars, you can do that. Okay, you go out and find a used 4Runner that's a year old with 30,000 miles on it. Find me one.
Yeah.
Find me one. Good luck. So I could never find on the used market what I was wanting. So I said, okay, forget it. I want to just go in. And I would go in to the dealership. I would know how much, I would know exactly how much the dealer paid for that vehicle. You can find out online. And so I walk in with a sheet of paper and I say, I'll pay this much money for it. Just tell me yes or no. You say me no, I'm leaving. You tell me yes, we'll write it up. And that's the way I would negotiate. And I said, I know your price with everything on it. I'll give you $500 profit. And so every time I did that, they said, okay, we'll write it up. And that was the extent of my negotiations usually.
How'd that work?
It was great.
Yeah.
They did it. I mean, he knew I was serious though. I had what he paid for it. I said, this is what I'm willing to pay. But I meant it though. If he said no, I'm out. I'll call Fort Collins or Denver and give the same offer to them. Okay. Talked about emergency reserve, temporary savings, 529, 401ks. Really watch your monthly expenses. As a couple, every few months, your subscriptions and things like that, you can leak a lot of money in subscriptions.
That's why you use your parents.
Yeah.
They start cutting their subscriptions.
I'm like, hey guys, we're cutting ours.
Yeah.
See Netflix next week.
Y'all?
No, well, I'm just.
Oh, I told them we're out with Hulu, and I go,
But it really, let's wrap this up. So, Marla, so let's finish up here. So, really watch your monthly expenses. You need to have like a review every quarter or 6 months as a couple going, let's go through this and let's make sure this is tight and this drop things or whatever. Review your insurance coverage. Like, if you're the breadwinner, you need to have pretty much as much life insurance as you can buy. Because, I won't belabor the point, but I've had phone calls with, it's always the guy who dies. In these cases, the guys were the breadwinners, the guys died. I was in classes just like this. Just like this, the same age group. When you grow up a little bit, all of a sudden someone has a heart attack and they die. Okay, I was a lawyer, so it'd be like Lars died suddenly of a heart attack. And Piper, you are in an absolute devastated state, you can't think straight. And y'all did not have life insurance on Lars. And you're calling me up in tears, wailing, going, okay, we've got 3 kids and we have no life insurance. What do I do, Jeff?
Sell our extra house.
But like,
That's all I wouldn't know what to do.
but it's horrible.
Get you a husband. Yeah.
I feel like though, like I've had those real life conversations with ladies.
yeah.
And it's so devastating when all this stuff and all of a sudden his income stops and there's no life insurance. It's just devastating. So life insurance, health insurance, if you disability insurance. I always had disability insurance. So if I got injured out doing something, I was alive but I was injured, couldn't work anymore, then we had like a certain amount of money every month that would pay for that. Let's see, health insurance, auto, okay, call.
Do you have an opinion on like term life insurance versus whole life insurance?
Yeah, I'm a big term guy.
Okay.
You save a ton of money,
Yeah.
and you get, and like you get term, it's pennies.
Yeah.
It's pennies, okay. And then like what I did is I had term that all stopped around that 60th birthday. Okay, so I would buy a term and up to like the 60, because I'm thinking I'm 60 now. I'm not making a dime anymore, and so
So we didn't need life
there's no
insurance.
income
after 60.
replacement necessary. I've
Money's
already.
there in the
Because the money's
Yeah.
there already, and you
Yeah.
didn't have to.
If
Okay.
I can add one other thing, one of the coolest things that I've heard about life insurance is like, I don't know, it's obviously helpful, but you'd also want your spouse to not be forced to rush to marry someone so
Yeah.
quickly with kids.
Or
In
like
many
to
ways, like-
immediately sell
yes.
the house, immediately have to move in with the parents, or move in
Yeah.
with a friend. Because like when that happens, you pretty much, you sell everything but
Yeah.
one vehicle and you move in with somebody.
Yeah,
That's kind of the game plan.
like you want your spouse to have
Yeah.
the decency to find the right person, not be married for the wrong reasons.
And like another thing too, I won't belabor the point, but like we had like Marla, after, let's see, Wavy was a little girl and Marla started staying home full time with the kids. And so she stopped working and making money in like at this office. And so then I sat down and I was going through what is the financial impact of a wife who passes away and what happens to the family. And the financial devastation of the wife passing away even though you're not replacing her income, you're replacing her services. It calls for those services. And so we had life insurance on Marla, not as much, but I think we still had like $500,000.
Yeah, I think
And
so.
that was like in the private market though. Like you did
Yeah,
you have, like
it was just term, and it was dirt cheap.
yeah.
It was, I mean, it was-
$20 a month or something.
Don't most companies give that, like?
Well, that's
Yeah.
what I was saying is like you, cause like companies offer like life insurance, but like
Mhm.
you can also like it's like State Farm, you can like have your own policy
Yep.
on yourself, like
Mhm.
by your family.
Exactly. Yep. So we did that. Now going down the list, hey, I would advise you to be the masters of cheap fun. We went camping in a pop-up.
Danny Deckers.
So we went camping in a pop-up. We would go drive there, camp, have campfires, do activities, go hiking, all this kind of stuff. And the entire weekend we would spend about $110 for gas, meals, the campsite, firewood, activities, buying bagels. The whole entire weekend would cost us like $100, okay, for a family of 5. And we did that over and over and over and over and over. So we had a ton of fun, cheap. Okay, so get out there as a family, do stuff, have fun, get off your rear end, don't sit on the couch all the time, go do stuff, have fun, okay? But find ways of doing it cheaply. In Colorado, with camping, if you're an outdoor person, it's a cinch. All right, number 27, practice thankfulness. Okay, so I don't have time to go into deep detail about this, but it is critical that you really be thankful to the Lord continually for all the ways He's blessed you. It is so easy to get caught up in what I don't have, what I want. I want this, I want that. We don't have that. We haven't do this. This crappy old car of mine is breaking down. I'm sick of it. I still can't afford another one or whatever. And you focus on the negatives. And what happens is, this has been true of me, the ocean of blessings that you're swimming in, you take it for granted. And all you think about is a couple things you don't have. And so being thankful to the Lord continually is a huge deal. Like I was telling the Willises one time, like I came up with this thing where sometimes I call it a thankfulness day, where I wake up in the morning and the rule is you cannot ask God for a single thing that day. Not one thing that day. All you do all day is thank God for all the blessings. And you can't say anything twice. So, and all of a sudden you start going through all these things and these layers of blessings that have just you're taken for granted because it's a long time. And that being thankful is a tremendous help in getting your finances and your head screwed on straight. Avoid comparison. Like, just don't be comparing yourself. Like there's this guy in my old parking garage. He'd show up with a Porsche Cayenne, then he showed up with a Ferrari, then he showed up with a McLaren.
And you're in the Corolla.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but this, and then he'd have a McLaren, and then he'd have like, some other car, and he's just so showy. And I'm driving my little Corolla, and then I get an Outback, then I get a 400.
Minivan.
You get the minivan. But that guy who did that, he still worked. He spent all his money, was all showy, has really had huge financial setbacks, and
Oh, you know him personally.
oh yeah, and he's really had some major setbacks. So he spent all his money, and he didn't think about the gravy train will always keep running.
Mm-hmm.
And now he's my age and having to grind like crazy.
Time's not on his side.
No, it is not. It is not. And so, all because you want to be showy. Like, no. Look, if people want to drive a McLaren, okay, fine. Okay, if that's what you like, I'm not casting judgment. You do your thing,
As long as
man.
that's out of your temporary savings.
Whatever in your spending plan.
Yeah. Okay, now, 29. Teach your children about money. Okay. Your kids are going to need to be taught about money the way Ferguson's dad taught him. Okay. You need to instill this from an early age. Work ethic, money, what happens. They need, but at the appropriate time as they grow up, you need to instill like tithing and giving and saving and deferred gratification on some purchase by saving up for it. All those things are really important for your children. Now, number 30, plan on dying with your affairs in order. You need a will. Okay, what happens if you're killed in a car wreck? Who's going to keep your children? Who's going to raise your children? How are they going to raise them? Where? Are you going to have any money for them? Is your life insurance going to be available for them to help them pay for your kids? Or is it going to fund? Is your life insurance going to fund your college fund for your kids? Who's going to take them? And then you have talks with people. Okay, mom, dad, friend. Listen, I've named you my will as the people who get our kids if we die. People, that kind of thing. And then when you die, you want to have all your affairs in order, and you want to have everything like one-stop shopping. Like, for example, in our family, we have a safe downstairs. It's a fire safe, so that if the house burns down, the safe is still there. Okay, and inside the safe we have a notebook.
I didn't bring it.
Like this one.
It's like
Okay,
that.
and so it's got our will in it. It's got all of our account information, all of our passwords. It's got all of our titles to what we own, and it's
Deed
got
of the house. I mean everything.
it's got like, I'm like, here's my financial plan, and then there's like, I want the house furniture goes to this. I want this vehicle go to this person. I want this to happen, and I want this to happen, and then you'll find these accounts, and this is how you're going to do it, and so I got everything they need, like, is in one little notebook. And if that doesn't happen, you know what a disaster it is for who comes in and pick up the pieces? Think about someone trying to get in and get your dadgum passwords
I know.
after you die. It's a disaster.
I don't even know my own passwords.
Eric has 100 passwords. Like, just choose one.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you can't because the
Yeah, you
symbols
can.
and
Yeah.
I have one.
yeah.
But anyway, so
Hopefully it's
you
not
really
me,
like
though.
you need to meet with the lawyer and get a will. You need to have like I'm going for surgery next week, so I've got a medical durable power of attorney from Marla that I've signed. Say, okay, if something happens, then the Marla can do it all. And you meet with people, and then as time goes by, then you modify it and change it. So that's
How
kind
often do you recommend reviewing that?
of
We do it right every 5 years.
whenever there's a change of circumstances.
Yeah, like when we talk to our friends about keeping our kids, well, then once they got to the age
Right.
where
They didn't need.
they didn't need to live with them,
Or
becomes irrelevant.
like let's see some real close friends, and like you're like, yeah, y'all take the kids if we were to get killed in a car wreck, okay? And then all of a sudden you're not.
Friends anymore?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they're not 18.
Then you got like, okay, I gotta change this will. I gotta change who gets the kids, kind of thing. And you got, but it's kind of on I would say 5 years is sort of a general rule.
Like a major life change.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's it. That's the 30 points.
One thing I would say, that I'll add to that is, if one of you does all the finances and the other one doesn't have a clue, change that.
Yeah.
because I have had friends who, one of them passed away, and the wife knew nothing. And she
Didn't even know where the accounts
didn't
were.
even know like where the bank was.
Or how much was in there or
Nothing.
anything.
And that was a nightmare.
Yeah.
So just be clued into every part of the financial part.
Okay. All right, so let's end up with Jude. Okay. Now to him who is able to present you from stumbling and to make you stand in the presence of his glory without blemish and with great joy, to the only God, our Savior, through Jesus Christ our Lord, be glory, majesty, power, and authority before all time, now and forevermore. Amen.
Amen.